Hello and welcome. It's going to be a guide on how to kill Tormented demons with a pretty mid-tier setup. So the main things to point out are the rune crossbow and the arclight. Nothing else really matters, it just makes it better. But rune crossbow, arclight, ruby bolts, broad bolts, that's all I would say you need. It'd be great if you have a slow crush weapon. I'll break down the gear at the end of the video, but for now I just want to start off real fast showing you some example kills. So first thing you do, of course, just pot up. And I'm going to hit this guy with the arclight at first, and then his shield is going to drop, which you can see visually, and then I'm going to hit him with the great axe for massive damage. I'm also using the great axe on smash. You need a crush weapon, and the arclight on lunge. You need to use the lunge with the arclight here. Alright, here we go. I start with a spec. I just can't piety at the start. Miss spec. His shield dropped. I used the great axe. It hits pretty fucking big. I can't tell. He's using ranged. You just gotta eat the first hit. You should turn on your protect prayer anyway, just in case it's the 1 out of 3, you know? And he already switched because I'm putting out big damage, so I'll go ahead and change ranged. If he's not using melee, I like to step back, so when he changes his combat style, I can tell what he's going to use. And now I'm just cruising again until he changes prayers or he rushes me. And I'm using rubies until he gets down to about half health. Alright, that happened. He's not moving at me, so I know it's magic now. And he changed his prayers, so I need to change my gear. So whenever he does the firebomb attack, you just step aside and change your prayers accordingly. That means he's changing it. And also, you might have noticed I switched to accurate, or I attempted to. And we're back on ranged. And I switch off my ruby bolts. That is the power of the bolt pouch, by the way. I can just do it here. And I like to camp the sharp eye prayer because it uses almost no prayer drain. Alright, and he's doing that again. He also didn't move, so I know I'm good to do that. I switched to accurate, so I have a slower attack speed. Slower attack speed gets a damage bonus, if you haven't picked up on that. Yes, that's a kill. Pretty quick. Oh, is he clinging on? He is dead. I like to hit him with melee first, but I may not be able to do that. Sometimes they don't, they just spawn with melee up. Okay, this guy did not. So I'll go through it again. Piety, I try to spec him, I fail. Get a free great axe in, he's using magic. You have to learn the different animations for the prayers here. No way around it. And then I can just flick piety during the kill. And eventually he's going to change his protection prayer, and then I'll switch to ranged again. While I'm waiting, I like to go ahead and change my bolts back to rubies. And I turn on sharp eye again. I just camp sharp eye because flicking eagle eye is not that much benefit and it costs a hell of a lot more prayer. And he's walking towards me, which means he's going to use melee. I can switch to accurate. I can hit him once for a big damage bonus. You actually have a pretty big window on that. So even though I'm doing it pretty quick, you can actually just take your time, step out first. First you dodge the bomb, then you change your prayer, and then you hit him hard. There we go. He's probably going to switch pretty soon. I might actually switch him back to, yep, back to range phase. Make sure I'm on that. I had a feeling he was going to do that. I don't know if he's going to use, alright, he used magic, of course. There's a lot of unavoidable damage in this fight, where I'm, after a melee phase, when they switch styles, it's literally a mix-up. You don't know if they're going to use which style, so just keep your health above like 40 at all times. No shame in eating. If you're only eating crumbons, you don't take that much time loss anyway. And that's another kill for the books. Papaya seed, I haven't seen that one yet. These guys have some questionable drops. Keep your prayer above like 30, but don't fill it up all the way. And we have another melee one, so I can go ahead and pop on piety. I actually got my spec for once. And it's ranged. And I'm going to switch back to rubies. And I'm going to hit nothing. Alright, so I'm waiting for his overhead to change. Their overhead changes every time they take 150 damage or more. You can overkill on it, and that's good. There's the power of the ruby. Not actually that good. Once they get down to half health, you definitely want to switch back to broads, or if you ever have a spec under 50. Under 50, it's not really worth it. He's changing, he's not moving, so I can just switch to magic prayer and step out. And then I hit him with an accurate shot, and then I go back to rapid. I should go back to broads, and now I can go in with the melee. And he's been attacking for a while, so I'm not sure if he'll switch back to melee prayer before I get frozen again. Yep. He did. And I gotta be careful of my prayer. Okay, he's coming in close, so I switch to melee prayer, get in an accurate hit, and then I just go back to rapid. And this kill should finish out like this. I'll drink prayer if I need it. I'm using Moonlight Moths, by the way, because they are so quick to get, and they don't give you quite as much as a regular prayer pot, but I can get 100 of these in the time it takes to get 10 prayer pots, so I'll stick with it. And the reason I can't blow prayer is just because sometimes these guys will restore your prayer. They'll drop an item that restores prayer. And let's see. And I'll do another kill. Alright, ranged. Yep, no way I was avoiding that damage. These guys, their damage is calculated at the start of their animation, not when the projectile lands. So, yeah, pretty annoying. Alright, now I can break it down for you after you've seen the fight. What's actually happening is this. So first you attack it, and then you get it with a attack that it's vulnerable to. It'll respond with whatever combat style it chooses. You don't know until it does it. So you change your prayer at that point to suit the combat style. 25 ticks after that, it's going to have absolutely no defense. You'll have 100% accuracy against it. And then 35 ticks after that, it will launch bombs and change its own attack style. And once it launches bombs, it is weak to a slow crusher heavy attack again. And the cycle repeats. Simultaneously, on like another thread, it'll have its protection prayers, which it'll choose one at the very start of the fight, when it spawns in actually. And then as you get it every quarter of its total health down or more, it'll change which style it's protecting against. And that is, that's what you respond to. But otherwise, this is, come back and look at this if you're not understanding it. I think this is very clear. Like after you try it once or twice, you'll have this baked into your memory. Alright, now I want to go over what your gear setup can look like when you're starting. So you can have just as simple as a 3-way switch, or if you're really scared, you can just wear D-hide by default. So the arclight, defender, have as a device, and just switch to the crossbow. You could do it with just this and this. Everything else just makes it a little bit faster and use less resources. This would be a very good way to start. Some other options for gear. If you don't have an imbued Slayer helmet, don't do these guys. I don't think it's worth doing off task. Amulet of Fury, if you don't have it, Glory's good still. Below that, you could use a Strength Amulet and optionally switch to like a Unholy Amulet for ranged, but the Glory is just a lot better. And then a Fury's better than that. Crosslight, Bandos is better. And then of course there's stuff better than Bandos, but Crosslight's very good still. Your defense doesn't matter too much, but sometimes they will hit a 0, so good defense is nice. Hour's device, whatever your best Hour's device is. Whatever your best defender is. You can use a Book of Law or whatever your best range shield is for when you're ranging. Arclight, of course. Ember Light later. If you don't have an Arclight, you don't have charges for an Arclight, get charges for an Arclight. It's well worth it. Barrel's gloves, you want hybrid gloves. Boots, probably dragon boots would be better, but I don't have that Slayer level. And yeah, I don't have it. I like having the ranged boots. You could use climbing boots. Berserker ring, extremely good. Archer's ring isn't worth it. Ring of the gods, I like using ring of the gods, but you don't have to. And then cape switch for melee. I use an Ardoin cloak because I've never gotten a Jad task. As soon as I get a Jad task, I'll use a fire cape. Infernal cape's better. Infernal's better, of course. Deonza's quiver. Yeah, any Ava's device is good. Ava's also works with proselyte if you wanted to do it that way. Having range accuracy is nice. Less D'hide. You could use black D'hide if you only have that. Carol's also good. Let's see, what else? Ruby bolts, extremely important. Above half health, you use ruby bolts. So up until they change pairs twice, you use rubies, and then you switch to broad bolts, just to be cheap. Better bolts than broads really aren't worth it. It's not a big DPS increase. I use Moonlight Moth mixes. If you don't want to bother getting those, you can use like 3 prayer pots. But these are a lot quicker to get. Crombons are perfect food. You don't want to have to spend a lot of time eating, and these, you eat them quicker. You don't need great food. Most of the time I leave with extra food. Superset, ranging pot, perfect. Sapphire Lantern and Games Necklace to start. Later you can just bring the teleport scroll. I tried Thralls. I don't think that Thralls are worth it. I end up just using a lot more prayer. I get a lot less kills per trip. It doesn't really help. I had one time it switched to magic prayer, but one time. It wasn't worth it, and that was out of like 20 kills with Thralls. It's not a big DPS increase, because your DPS is already better than most monsters because of the slow attack. So when you're doing a big-ass attack for melee, you can use the arclight and you get a guaranteed hit. It's not bad. But if you want something a little bit heavier than that, Drox Great Axe is the easiest to use and best, basically. Obsidian Maul and Necklace would actually be better, but even just the Obsidian Maul would be good, although it's not quite as good as Drox Great Axe. It's pretty damn close. So after the Obsidian Maul, there's the Granite Maul. That's also a 7 tick, so I know some people are going to have that. And then we're down to 6 ticks, and these just go by strength bonus. Remember, you need to be Crush style, so Elder Maul, God Sword, Colossal Blade, Barrel Chest Anchor. If you don't have anything even as good as a Barrel Chest Anchor, just keep poking with the Arclight. It's okay. For ranged, remember you can switch to Accurate to get up to 20 damage bonus rather than the usual 9 on Rapid. Alternatively, if you have a Ballista, the Ballista would also be... Ballista would actually be better, but then you have to switch to Ballista, Javelin, and then when you switch back, you have to remember you have to put your shield back on. Now, I looked at other range weapons. The Sunlight Hunter crossbow just isn't worth it. Rubies are so good. So good. And then to bring the Sunlight one, it'd just be too many extra slots. Oh yeah, I also looked at the Atlatl. Atlatl is only worth it when the defense is 0, but that's it doesn't line up perfectly that way all the time, so I don't think it's worth it. Bofa, if you have a Bofa and Crystal Armor, plug it in a DPS calculator. I don't feel like doing your work for you on that one. You're not mid-game if you have a Bofa. You're not. What else? I have tried magic, actually, with the, what's it called? Dark Demon Bane and a Staff of the Dead. And it does pipe like as hard as the Arclight, which is pretty incredible at first, but the cost is astronomical. It costs like almost $1 mil an hour if you're buying soul runes. But if you have like 30,000 soul runes for some reason, you have nothing else to use them on, it's actually great. And of course, as you get the Tormented Synapses, I believe I'm certain the Scorching Bow with even just rune arrows is better than the rune crossbow overall, so you can just switch to that. Easy days. Emberlight, of course, doesn't use charges anymore, that's great. And I think that's about it. Yep. So, if this helped you, let me know in the comments. If you have any other questions, let me know in the comments. Try to remember to put a map on the screen showing you the area you need to kill the demons so that they are single combat. Because it is a bitch when they group up. If you want to learn how to fight them in groups, look at a different video. This is for people learning how to fight them in singles with minimal gear requirements. Alright, and I was putting this guide together, and I had my friend, he's checking it, making sure I remembered everything. And I forgot the most important step in killing tormented demons. Do you want to remind them?
Most important step, throwing in a dip.
I couldn't believe it. The problem is I was already dipping when I started, so... But I'll show you guys a clip of us dipping. You guys should throw in a dip too, and you'll be ready to kill some tormented demons.
We'll try not to make a face.
The way going first is worse, is the first pinch is always got to be a pretty good one. This isn't too bad.
Nah, you got a small one. You want more than that, don't you? Alright. Send this, huh?